Hey there, for Niners faithful, we're back with another exclusive video, bringing you everything you need to know about our beloved San Francisco 49ers. Before we dive into today's hot topic, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss any breaking news, in-depth analysis, or exciting updates about the Niners. Now let's get straight to it, because there's been a lot of buzz lately around one particular player who might just be carrying the team's biggest hopes for the upcoming NFL season. We're talking about none other than Christian McCaffrey. Yes, the star running back, who when healthy is an absolute nightmare for defenses across the league. Recently, the folks over at Pro Football Network came out with a list highlighting the most likely MVP candidates from each NFL team for the 2025 season. And guess what? McCaffrey was their pick for the San Francisco 49ers. Honestly, this shouldn't come as a shock to anyone who's been paying attention to the Niners' offensive performance over the past couple of years. Let's not sugarcoat it. This team absolutely needs Christian McCaffrey at 100% if they want any real shot at making noise this season. Sure, last year the offense found ways to move the ball and put points on the board even without him for large stretches of the schedule, but if we're being completely real, something was missing. There was a noticeable drop-off, especially in the passing game and down in the red zone, where having a player like McCaffrey can make all the difference. The reality is that no matter how much depth the Niners build or how creative Kyle Shanahan gets with his play calling, there's just no replacing what McCaffrey brings to the table. His ability to change the momentum of a game with one single play, whether it's a 20-yard run through tight gaps or a quick pass turn into a big gain, is unmatched. And now, with news coming out that McCaffrey looks fully fit with no lingering effects from the injuries that limited him last season, the excitement is building among fans and analysts alike. If McCaffrey can manage to stay upright and avoid the injury bug that's haunted him in recent years, there's no doubt he could be on track for one of the best seasons of his career. That's exactly why the analysts over at Pro Football Network believe he's the most likely candidate from the 49ers roster to take home the MVP award this year. According to their evaluation, when McCaffrey is healthy, there are very few players in the entire league who can match his impact. That's the key, though, staying healthy, and that's where the biggest question mark still lingers. Let's rewind a bit to put things in perspective. In 2024, McCaffrey managed to suit up for only 4 games. That's right, just 4. And while that short stretch wasn't enough to show his full capabilities last year, people haven't forgotten what he did the season before. Back in 2023, McCaffrey didn't just play well, he dominated. He led the entire NFL in rushing yards with 1,459 scrimmage yards, with 2,023 in total touchdowns with 21. Those are video game numbers, and they're a big reason why expectations are sky high for what he could do this year. What makes McCaffrey even more valuable is his versatility. He's not just a running back who pounds the ball up the middle. He's a dual-threat weapon who forces defenses to stay honest on every snap. Whether he's taking handoffs between the tackles, bouncing runs to the outside, or catching passes out of the backfield and turning them into huge plays, McCaffrey is always a headache for opposing coordinators. And with some of the other key pieces of the 49ers offense currently dealing with their own issues, that spotlight on McCaffrey is about to get even brighter. We all know that Deebo Samuel Sr. is no longer with the team. That's a huge change in itself. On top of that, Brandon Ayuk is still on the mend, recovering from a brutal season-ending injury. All of this points to one thing: McCaffrey is going to have a massive workload early in the season. The Niners simply won't have much choice but to lean heavily on him, especially in those first few games as the offense tries to find its rhythm and new playmakers emerge. Now, some fans might be wondering, what about Brock Purdy? After all, Purdy was right there in the MVP conversation back in 2023. Shouldn't he be the one getting this kind of recognition? It's a fair question, but here's the reality. As long as Christian McCaffrey is on this roster, Purdy's chances of winning MVP are slim to none. That's not a knock on Purdy. He's done a fantastic job leading the offense and proving his worth as a starting quarterback in this league. But the MVP narrative tends to favor players who put up eye-popping individual stats and carry their teams in undeniable ways. And with McCaffrey's all-around production, especially if he stays healthy, it's hard to imagine Purdy outshining him in the eyes of the voters. But here's where things get tricky. The only thing standing between McCaffrey and a monster 2025 season is his own health. That's the hurdle that needs to be cleared. However, there's another layer to this conversation that fans and analysts alike have started to focus on: workload management. Let's not forget what happened in 2023. The coaching staff, especially Kyle Shanahan, was criticized for not doing enough to protect McCaffrey from overuse. Even when the team had comfortable leads late in games, McCaffrey was still out there taking snaps, running hard between the tackles, and risking unnecessary hits. That overuse undoubtedly played a role in his limited availability last season. And if the Niners want to avoid a repeat scenario, changes need to happen in how they manage his touches. When the fourth quarter rolls around and the Niners are up by multiple scores, McCaffrey needs to be on the sideline with his helmet off, resting and preserving himself for the games that really matter down the stretch. It's not just about keeping him healthy for the regular season, but making sure he's fresh and ready to go when the playoffs arrive. Because let's be real, this team's ultimate goal isn't just stacking regular season wins, it's making a deep playoff run and chasing another shot at the Super Bowl. And even though McCaffrey might feel like he can handle a full workload week in and week out, it's up to Shanahan and the rest of the coaching staff to protect him from himself. Star players often want to be on the field as much as possible, but part of being a smart and effective coaching staff is knowing when to pull them back for their own good. The Niners learned that lesson the hard way last year, and now with so much riding on McCaffrey's performance, they can't afford to make the same mistake twice. Fans will be watching closely to see how the 49ers handle this. Will we see a smarter approach to managing his snaps? Will they incorporate more of the backup running backs to lighten the load? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: if McCaffrey can stay healthy and the coaching staff can strike the right balance, the sky's the limit for what he can accomplish this season. There's also the psychological factor that plays into this entire situation. When you're a player like Christian McCaffrey, with that competitive fire burning inside, sitting out plays or even full quarters can feel like punishment. McCaffrey is wired to be on the field, contributing every single down, pushing himself past limits that most players wouldn't even dare to approach. But as much as that mentality is part of what makes him great, it's also a double-edged sword. The coaching staff has to find ways to manage that internal battle. They'll need to make tough calls that may not be popular in the locker room, but are essential for the team's long-term success. And it's not just about physical health or durability. Keeping McCaffrey fresh and explosive requires strategic thinking about how he's utilized in games. Maybe that means more design passing plays early on to minimize wear and tear from inside runs. Maybe it means rotating him more frequently with backup running backs during blowout situations. The bottom line is, if the 49ers want McCaffrey firing on all cylinders come December and January, they'll have to be proactive, not reactive, about how they manage him throughout the season. The other layer to this story is the impact McCaffrey has on the rest of the offense. His mere presence on the field changes how defenses line up. Safeties cheat up, linebackers stay home, and defensive coordinators are constantly adjusting their game plans to account for him. This creates opportunities for everyone else around him. Wide receivers find more open lanes, tight ends get mismatches. Even the quarterback benefits from cleaner looks, because defenses are so focused on stopping McCaffrey. Without McCaffrey on the field, everything becomes harder for this offense. The running game loses its explosiveness, the passing game loses its unpredictability, and defenses can pin their ears back and attack more aggressively. This cascading effect is something we saw glimpses of last season when McCaffrey was sidelined. The offense looked less dynamic, more predictable, and ultimately easier to contain. That's why keeping him healthy isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity for this team's success. But let's not overlook the fact that McCaffrey's injury history is real, and something the team has to respect. We're not talking about minor bumps and bruises. We're talking about injuries that have forced him to miss significant time across multiple seasons. This isn't about doubting his toughness or questioning his commitment. If anything, McCaffrey has shown time and time again that he's willing to play through pain. But the reality is that no amount of heart or determination can change the fact that the human body has its limits. That's why this season could become a fascinating test of Kyle Shanahan's ability to evolve as a head coach. Shanahan is known for his aggressive, go-for-the jugular play calling. He wants to keep the pedal to the metal, put games out of reach early, and keep defenses guessing. But when it comes to McCaffrey, that same aggression needs to be balanced with long-term thinking. There will be moments when Shanahan has to resist the urge to feed McCaffrey the ball 25 or 30 times in a game, even if the matchup seems favorable. It's about discipline and big-picture strategy. One possible solution the team could explore is giving more snaps to the backup running backs during non-critical moments. Guys like Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason are more than capable of carrying the load for a series or two. Allowing them to get into a rhythm not only keeps McCaffrey fresher, but also builds depth and confidence across the entire running back group. This kind of rotation approach could pay huge dividends later in the season, when fresh legs are at a premium. And speaking of depth, the 49ers front office also needs to keep an eye on the waiver wire and potential trade opportunities. Having a reliable insurance policy behind McCaffrey could prove to be a season-saving move. If injuries start to pile up again, the team cannot afford to put all its eggs in one basket, no matter how talented that basket may be. The stakes are just too high. Now looking at the schedule for 2025, there are going to be some brutal stretches where the Niners face top-tier defenses back-to-back. These will be the true test of both McCaffrey's durability and Shanahan's play-calling discipline. Managing workload is easy when you're up by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Against a struggling team, the real challenge comes when it's a tight one-score game in the second half against a playoff contender. Will Shanahan stick to the plan and limit McCaffrey's touches, or will the competitive fire take over and lead to overexposure? It's also worth considering how McCaffrey's role evolves throughout the season, early on especially, while other key offensive weapons are still working their way back to full health. McCaffrey may see an increased number of touches out of necessity, but as the season progresses and players like Brandon Ayuk return to the lineup, there could be more opportunities to diversify the offense and ease the pressure off McCaffrey's shoulders. The coaching staff has to remain flexible and willing to adjust on the fly. Let's also talk about McCaffrey's mindset coming into this season. After a frustrating 2024 campaign where he barely saw the field, you can bet he's coming in with something to prove. Athletes of his caliber don't take missed seasons lightly. Expect him to run harder, play smarter, and make every snap count. But again, that internal drive is exactly why the coaching staff needs to be the voice of reason and keep his long-term health as the priority. Another factor that can't be ignored is the potential ripple effect on team morale and locker room dynamics. Star players like McCaffrey set the tone for the entire roster. If he's frustrated with how he's being managed, that frustration can spread. On the flip side, if the team sees that the coaching staff is putting a smart plan in place to protect their biggest weapon, it sends a message that player well-being is a priority. This kind of culture can pay off in the long run, especially when the grind of the NFL season starts wearing everyone down. Fans are already buzzing with expectations, and the media spotlight will only grow brighter as the season unfolds. Every time McCaffrey has a big game, the MVP talk will heat up. Every time he takes a hard hit, the injury concerns will resurface. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, and how the 49ers manage that pressure will be just as important as what happens on the field. Statistically speaking, the path to an MVP season for McCaffrey is clear. If he stays healthy, puts up anywhere close to his 2023 numbers, and the 49ers finish near the top of the NFC standings, his name will be in that conversation. But the road to get there is full of variables: health management, offensive balance, schedule challenges, and even playoff positioning. And let's not forget, the MVP award isn't just about stats. Narrative plays a huge role. If McCaffrey becomes the driving force behind another successful 49ers campaign, leading the team through adversity, putting up big performances in key primetime games, and staying available week after week, the narrative will build in his favor. Voters love a comeback story, and McCaffrey delivering an MVP season after missing most of the previous year would be exactly that. Ultimately, the next few months will tell us a lot about not just McCaffrey's health, but also the maturity of this coaching staff and the overall resilience of the 49ers organization. It's a high-stakes situation with a lot on the line. From fantasy football managers to die-hard Niners fans, everyone will be watching closely to see how this unfolds. One thing's for sure, Christian McCaffrey's journey through the 2025 season is shaping up to be one of the most compelling storylines in the entire NFL. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A ripple of concern is reportedly moving through the San Francisco 49ers faithful after whispers emerge from the team's practice facility regarding quarterback Brock Purdy. While details remain scarce, sources close to the organization suggest that Purdy may have sustained an injury during a recent training session, casting a shadow over the team's meticulously laid plans for the upcoming season. The nature of the alleged injury is still under wraps, fueling speculation and unease. There's no official word from the 49ers brass, but the conspicuous absence of Purdy from certain drills and an increased presence of medical staff around the quarterback during practice has only intensified the rumors. This isn't the first time Purdy has faced injury concerns with his elbow issue. From the 2022 NFC Championship game still fresh in many minds. While he made a remarkable recovery, then any new setback, especially one that could impact his throwing, would be a significant blow to a team with Super Bowl aspiration. For a franchise that has consistently battled key injuries in recent seasons, the possibility of their starting quarterback being sidelined even temporarily is a chilling prospect. The 49ers offense thrives on rhythm and familiarity, and any disruption to Purdy's availability could force the team to pivot to their backup options. While the team has prepared for such eventualities, the thought of a significant period without their young dynamic signal caller is undoubtedly causing some sleepless nights for coaches and fans alike. The silence from the team itself only adds to the tension, leaving everyone to wonder if this is merely a minor scare or a more serious development that could alter the trajectory of their season. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.